I've been doing one of these in a while, and I used to do them all the time. Many of you may remember way back many moons ago, I used to do a annual video, a yearly roundup of the most common questions I got asked that year, and answering them all in one big video dump. But it's been a long time since I've done that, mainly because I started streaming daily, which means I was answering the same 50 questions every 4 minutes. So there wasn't really a ton of questions that were going unanswered. But I wanted to give a little mix-up here, hit you with the shake and bake, because there is one question that for actual years I have been asked probably above all else. The only thing that comes close, maybe second place, is why am I so short? Which is a question I've answered 3 times now. I mean, again, it's not a question for me. You gotta ask the man upstairs. I don't know why God made me this short, but I don't mind being fun-sized. Can't change it. Is what it is. But I'll be right back, though. I have to excuse myself to the little sailor's room. Alright, anyway, and that question is about the gym. What is my advice for anyone looking to get started with gym going? A fitness journey. And it's a question I always enjoy answering or just diving in on. The subject is just something I'm very familiar with. Maybe you know, maybe you don't. Maybe go fuck yourself. But a little bit of lore on, my academic career. When I first went into college, I had a digital arts major. I wanted a career in animation. But it became painfully clear for the 2 years I spent in this major that there is no one worse in that field than myself. I have to be the least talented organism on the planet when it comes to art and animation. When zookeepers give paintbrushes to elephants and they fucking doodle on a canvas, that demonstrates a higher level of artistic prowess than what I was able to produce in 2 years with that major. So going into my junior year of college, I switched to a human sciences degree with a concentration on exercise physiology. And even though I don't use it these days, I of course still am very active in the gym. I know a lot of people like when I do the old sleeper build showcase type shit. It is something that I've always been very passionate about, and as such, I get questions about fitness and gym all the time, like where to start, because that is the hardest part of this whole journey. So I wanted to make this whole video dedicated to that topic on how to get started with working out. I always really enjoy seeing that so many people are really taking their health more seriously. It's always been the number one thing I recommend to people that are struggling with self-esteem or maybe finding themselves in a bit of a rough spot mentally. I always recommend starting some kind of fitness journey, setting these small, attainable little goals that you can chip away at, so that way you can feel yourself progressing and taking your health more seriously. I really think it can just do wonders for people's self-esteem, their outlook, and their general attitude. And it's something that's completely free to begin with. You don't need an expensive gym membership. You only need your body. I'm a big proponent of calisthenics. The bulk of my training these days has been heavy weights, but I always integrate calisthenics into my workouts because I think they are just great for functional strength, and especially if you are just starting, it is great for beginners because there's so many progressions. So push-ups, for example. If you can't do a full push-up, you can do knee push-ups. Pretty much every calisthenic movement has progressions for it. But by far, the most important thing when it comes to working out and taking your health more seriously, and one that everyone always mentions, how do you stick with it? How do you stay motivated? I believe it's routine. It's not easy to start for a lot of people. It's very hard to stay motivated. It's hard. It is difficult. But if you can just grit your teeth and bear it for a week of sticking to a schedule, it starts to become easier. It starts to become routine. It becomes more comfortable. And then over time, maybe you start to enjoy it. Maybe you and your friends want to start working out together. You go to the gym together. Then it becomes fun. It may start as something daunting that you're not looking forward to, but if you stick with it for a week or two and it starts to feel like a routine, or even starts to feel fun if you're doing it with a friend, or you start to find the joy in working out, then it starts to be locked in. Then it becomes far easier to stay working out, going to the gym, this kind of thing. So that's always the number one piece of advice I give to anyone looking to start a health and fitness journey is stick with it for a week or two so it starts to feel like a routine. It becomes a normal part of your scheduling because then it's a lot easier to stick with it. Now, the next piece of advice I always give to people that are starting a health and fitness journey is you do not need to spend fucking oodles of doubloons on all of these outrageous fitness courses that are being hawked on every single social media platform out the wazoo. You don't need to do that. It's the big 2026. There is unlimited information right at your fingertips for exercise science. There are countless great resources online. There's innumerable channels on YouTube dedicated to every single possible training methodology that you could ever imagine. And when you're just beginning, you don't need to make yourself like the perfect split off rip. You don't need the perfect workout regimen to begin with. I think what's far more valuable to a beginner is having a big charcuterie board of a lot of different exercises that you have compiled from a lot of different training resources and trying them all yourself. Making sure to use good form, learning the movements, and finding which exercises you like the best. Because when you're starting a health and fitness journey, you probably want to be enjoying it. Having fun would make it a lot easier to stick with it. So finding the exercises you actually like doing in the beginning, I think, is far more helpful than immediately spending hundreds of dollars finding the most optimized workout splits for yourself. That can come later. Once you're more, seasoned in the gym, you know what you like, you know what's working for you, what's not, then you can start catering your workouts more specifically using other resources that are specific for the goals that you are trying to achieve. But I don't think you need to do all of that all at once. I think it's much more valuable when you're starting out to find the exercises that you really like. Now, naturally, that leads into another question. How do you find these exercises? Where do you go to learn about these lifts and how to properly do them? And how do you avoid the information overload if you do just type in like chest workout, for example? Because if you do type in something like that, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of videos from thousands of different channels and influencers telling you a bunch of conflicting things. Like maybe this guy over here is saying you're a fucking idiot if you're doing barbell bench press. This guy over here saying, no, actually it's a gold standard to just flat barbell bench. This guy over here is preaching the gospel about, no, actually you have to dumbbell press. That's the only way to train your chest. That's the way you got to do it. And when you're just starting, it's a lot of noise. How do you figure out what's the best or who to trust? And I believe, kind of like what was said in the famous commercial, why not both? When you are just starting, I think it's valuable to experiment. So learn both of these lifts and try them for yourself. Because maybe this guy hates dumbbell press, but you end up loving it. So now that can also help you narrow down what channels you want to get your fitness information from, what resources work for you personally, and what you enjoy most from your lifts. And like I said, it doesn't always have to be weight training. Maybe you fall in love with calisthenics. The point is just trying a lot of these movements and a lot of these lifts and figuring out what you enjoy most will help you stick with something. I think that's far more effective than immediately spending tons of money buying like a program and buying a bunch of supplements. Just try shit yourself first. And as you become more accustomed to working out, as you start making it more of a routine, then you can start fine-tuning it a bit more. And I think by trying a ton of things, it'll help you narrow in on what resources are teaching you these kind of things, and those can be the channels or influencers, whatever, that you follow as like your trusted source for workouts, because it's what's most enjoyable to you and what's working for you on a personal level. But as I said, the most important thing to start is trying to lock it in as a routine. And starting with somebody else is always going to make things easier. If you do this with like a friend, I think that makes it infinitely more fun just off rip. So if that's an option on the table for you and a buddy to begin this kind of thing, I definitely think that's going to help both of you right away. But again, it can be done solo too. It just takes effort. Like it does take some time and it takes some effort. But I truly think it's worth it, which is why I always recommend it to everyone. And I always like when people ask me about it, even though I'm not the most knowledgeable guy in the world on it. Far from it. There are people far smarter than I on this subject. But hopefully this yap session has been helpful to someone out there that's been tinkering around with the idea of taking their health and fitness a little more seriously. Anyway, that's really about it. See ya.